Okay. So good morning, everybody, and thanks for letting me presenting the work we are doing at Kakarot. So basically, we are building I would say a regular EVM execution client, and we are building it with Cairo, which is the programming language developed by Starkware to be read in the Cairo VM. I will enter into the detail later on. And because this language is meant to be run on a probable virtual machine, it means that whatever you build with the Cairo language is ZK by design. But the hard truth is that, I'm not a cryptographer. I know like almost nothing about ZK. I could not talk to you about the different kind of algorithms that are used. I know the very bare bones, but the very basic things. But it's definitely not something I'm using. So I'm here to talk about ZK program. Well, I'm not a cryptographer at all, and I could not. At the end, I could not. So the talk is more oriented toward the fact that even if you're not a cryptographer, the maturity of the ZK technology today allows anyone, just like any software engineers, to start building ZK program. And it's not it's not only related to blockchain technology, it's not only related to building an L2, building a rollup or whatever, a sovereign rollup or whatever you want. Like it's about building program that can be proven, so that if you want to build a program, you can build it with the language that you want. You can build TypeScript, Rust, Java, Go, but you can also use, let's say, Cairo, and then if you use this program, you can run it regularly, or you can run it and generate the proof of the run. And then you can share the proof in some other places, and this might be of interest for you. Oh yeah, there are some, anyway. So, and this is very important, I want to say it again and again, we are not cryptographer, so don't ask me anything about cryptography, please. We are software engineer working with Cairo. So Cairo, and I will show you a bit more then afterwards, is a very general purpose, probable programming language, but it's just a programming language. And on the other hand, you might know that like the Ethereum blockchain works with the EVM, so the so-called Ethereum virtual machine, which is the bare bone, I would say, of the execution client of the of Ethereum blockchains. Even if it's not Ethereum, most of the blockchains started by forking, I think, like Get or something. So Ethereum, there are maybe 5 to 6 clients actually that can run the blockchain. We have the main one, which is Get in Go. There is a Rest anyway, by Paradigm in Rust. There is one by Nethermind in C#. There is Besu, I think, in Java. And there are some others, like even in JavaScript, there is Ethereum.js in JavaScript implements the EVM. So basically what you have in an Ethereum execution client, you have the EVM to be able to run the transaction. And you have the computation of the storage root. So the storage is, let's say, basically a huge Merkle-Patricia trie. And then you have the state before, you have the state root of before, you have the EVM that computes the updates in the storage slots that you want to propagate into the blockchain, and then you compute the new storage root given the changes of the transaction, and so on and so forth. Then you produce a block. So basically an Ethereum execution client, it's an EVM execution engine, plus, I would say, a storage part, where you actually just propagate the storage root, because the storage is quite huge. So what we have started to do with Kakarot, it was 1 year ago. We have started to say, okay, so now we have this language Cairo. It's probable, but it's just a language, and we are just software engineers. So let's build an EVM with this language, and we will see what we will do with this EVM later on. And because of the hype of the terminology, and because it's true as well, we have said, okay, we have a ZK EVM, but this, let's say, ZK EVM is not especially meant to be like in an L2, like we are not certain yet that we are going to do like a ZK rollup as a Scroll is doing, or as Polygon is doing, as Linea is doing. So for now, we just focus on building the execution client, and then maybe we will run this in an L2, or maybe we will do some other things with it. It's not yet determined anyway. And once again, we are not cryptographer, and I insist on this because for everyone willing to build ZK thing, I do insist on the fact that you can use Cairo, and it's ZK, and then you trust other people at Starkware, at Lambda Class, that develop the prover, that develop the VM, and then you can generate the proof if you need it. Okay, so Cairo, this is the name of the language. I don't know if anyone of you has already tried it. You should. Cairo comes in 2 flavors. So there is the original Cairo, now a bit deprecated. Cairo 0, Cairo unsafe, anyway, which is quite low level, meaning that with this language it's completely unsafe. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You really manipulate the memory segment directly. If you need to write down something in a memory slot, you can. If you need to retrieve a value of a memory slot, it is very low-level programming language, just a programming language, but still very low level. And this comes, of course, with it's a compiled language. So this comes with the Cairo compiler that's been built by Starkware, and then you compile it to Cairo assembly language, also known as Chasm, and this runs eventually in a Cairo VM. So there are already different existing production-ready implementation of the Cairo VM. The first one has been done by Starkware and has been powering StarkX and StarkNet for like 2 years somehow. A new one has been produced by Lambda Class. Lambda Class, there are some people from Lambda Class also here. A rewrite in Rust, and I think this is now powering StarkNet, the official Stark network, since maybe July or something. There are 2 other implementations in Go that are still in development. We are also building ourselves at Kakarot an implementation of the Cairo VM in TypeScript, because we feel like it's interesting to have also implementation of the virtual machine in TypeScript, because TypeScript is a language that everyone understands very easily to read, and because we see as well that the EVM, so in the Ethereum world, they are actually like maintaining heaps of EVM implementation just for the sake of the robustness, for the sake of the clarity, for the usage, educational usage, for instance, if it's in JavaScript. So this is the first version of Cairo, and you will probably not use it if you start Cairo right now, but still it exists, and it might be necessary if you want to build big programs right now. And the new version of Cairo, so Cairo 1 or 2, or anyway, just Cairo, there's been a big breaking change between 0 and 1, but then now it's almost the same with minor differences, I would say, so just Cairo. And this looks like Rust. So if you are familiar with Rust, it's very similar. It compiles to an intermediate representation. So Sierra comes from, there is intermediate representation in the Sierra for sure. And then this Sierra is either compiled down to the Chasm that I talked before, so that run in the Cairo VM. And the Cairo VM, when it's run, it generates the traces that can be proven. So when you run into the Cairo VM, you sort of pay a bit of an overhead for generating the traces that then feed the prover. But anyway, but with the new Cairo, you can also run it. You can also compile the intermediate representation to MLIR. So there are people from Lambda Class now I know in the room, so they can tell much more than I could. But anyway, if you use the new Cairo one and then you don't compile it, and then from Sierra you don't compile to Chasm, but you compile with a MLIR, you can run it natively in your machine, so that the program that you run in Cairo should be as fast as any program that you could have run in any other languages. For the Cairo native things, I strongly recommend you to go to talk to Lambda Class people and see how it's going. It's not yet prod ready, but so the goal is that, and once again, if you use Cairo, it's a general purpose programming language. You use Cairo 1, and at the end of the day, if you need, you can generate proof, but if you don't need, you can run it as a regular program, and it will be normally as fast as any other program that can run, I would say, natively. And so this is what we have done with Kakarot. We have 2 Kakarot, actually. So Kakarot is the name of the project, the EVM implementation in Cairo. So we have a first Kakarot that we started 1 year ago in the low-level Cairo, now called Cairo 0. Because it's very low level, we expect it to be more optimized in terms of computational resources compared to the new one. And this is like so this is a standalone Cairo program, Chasm, at the end it's compiled, that we can run in a Cairo VM. So as I've said, there are several Cairo VM. I would say the most easily reachable one is the one that powers StarkNet, of course. But StarkNet now will not accept the Cairo 0 program. So we can run it wherever we can run a Cairo VM. And so, for example, the presentation before mentioned like app chains. So there is also a StarkNet stack. So you can run a StarkNet-like app chain. There is one framework developed by Starkware. There is one community developed framework called Madara. There is one framework as well developed by the people from Lambda class. So there are different possibilities for running a Cairo VM in a blockchain. And once you have a Cairo VM, of course, you could run then the Kakarot program, but you could run also different kind of program written in Cairo that you would like to. And then we have the rewrite, so the new version of Kakarot that we are writing in Cairo 1. And this version can be like either used so directly within StarkNet, so that within StarkNet we can enshrine an EVM interpreter, meaning that it's a bit like what Neon is doing on Solana or what Aurora has been doing in NEAR. Like within the blockchain, you implement in a smart contract an interpreter of the EVM so that within StarkNet you can interpret, so deploy at the end and interact with contract written for the EVM. So either Huff, Solidity, Viper, LLL, whatever you want. This is an option. It's not even sure that we are going to push this into production. It will depend, of course, on the overhead brought by the online interpretation, I would say, of the bytecode for each transaction directly from within StarkNet. And we will also be able to run this code in native mode, thanks to normally when it comes to prod, the Cairo native. So that's why, yeah, we have now several implementation of the EVM, and depending on what we want to do with them, we will run them either provable or not. And this is, I think, thanks to the strong modularity of Cairo and the language, the Cairo language. So a bit more details about the Kakarot architecture, being either Kakarot the first version or the second one. So we have we take inspiration from the other execution client. So I don't know if you have already opened the code base of Nethermind or Res or something. Basically you have all the opcodes that you need to implement. So the EVM has approximately 140 opcodes. There are new ones added with AIPs. Like now there is transient storage, TLOAD, TSTOR opcodes, so maybe a bit more anyway. There are like nine precompiles. Precompiles, for the people that don't know, are just like, I would say, community agreed fact that when you make a call to a given hard-coded address, it will not make a call, but it will run a program directly in the client. So the precompiles are just like the people at the Ethereum community people decided to say, okay, if we call contract at address 1, it's not a call. It's EC recover precompile. So the client should run a piece of code instead of trying to actually make a call to a smart contract at address 1, and so on and so forth. So there are nine precompiles. So this is how it's done. You just get the bytecode and then you decode. It's a virtual machine, a bytecode per bytecode, the opcode that you're supposed to reach, and you do a while loop, like while not end of program, then decode, execute, go back, and so on and so forth. So we have this, of course, and then there is also, I would say, the state, because all these opcodes, the EVM itself, so it has a stack, it has a memory, and it can interact with a storage. So as I've said before, the execution client, it's the EVM plus the storage. In Ethereum, it's the big MPT. And so we also have the state that the opcode interact with. So for us right now, we have a two-way to manipulate the state. I would say there is an internal state representation that is used by the execution during the execution of the transaction. And this state can be either like loaded as an input of the program. Like if you want to say, okay, given this state plus this transaction, and then I output the output state. This is how the Ethereum Foundation tests are written. And we can also use StarkNet sort of as a data availability layer for our state, meaning that we don't store any state, but when we need to read in the beginning, we pull from StarkNet, and then we need to store, we push back to StarkNet. So these are the two possibilities for us, and depending once again of the use case, we will use either one of the other. So this I would say this execution client, these Kakarot things, once again, depending where it lives, of course, you can interact with it differently. So we have, when we are in StarkNet, a main, I would say, contract entry point that looks a bit like the JSON RPC spec that implements some of these routes, like the is call, is send transaction, is chain ID, is balance, is whatever you want. Because so if you are in StarkNet, you have the main entry point of the engine is a smart contract that everyone can call. So we have added some of these routes here. And then we also, if it's not in StarkNet, we also run Kakarot directly in a Karo VM in a substrate node. And then we have implemented all the usual, I would say, is JSON RPC routes. So depending as well on whether we will eventually put the Kakarot program, we will have different way of interacting with it. We can also, I have mentioned here, proving as a service. This is a bit different, but we can also say take a block, and it's similar to what RISC-0 has been doing recently with Z. They have published, it was I think somewhere in this summer, the fact that I've been able to prove Ethereum blocks. So it's similar that you get the block as in the state, the pre-state as input, plus the blocks, plus the transaction. And then you output the final state, so we can do this as well. The ongoing work, so it's not done yet, of course. Not everything is perfect right now. So we are actually working on passing the official Ethereum Foundation test suite. So being an EVM, it's not just like, okay, I can deploy some Solidity and it should work, and it's almost okay. I have deployed a few dApps and it behaves as I expected. There is like 20K tests available, developed by the Ethereum, I would say the Ethereum Foundation anyway. And so if you pass this test, you can say that you are an Ethereum client. If you don't pass them, there are edge cases where, of course, hackers could be able to do different things. So it's not like it's Solidity compatibility. It's not like we can transpile Solidity into something else and deploy it into our base virtual machine. This is really like being fully Ethereum compatible. So this is really like building a new execution client for the Ethereum community. And we are completely Ethereum maximalist anyway. So we have 50% of them passing. So the main problem that we have now is that it's a bit, if you want to build an EVM, it's easy to build opcode. There are some subtleties in the gas accounting, in some edge cases, in the memory loading, and so on and so forth, that explain why we don't have the 100% now. So we will work toward this goal to have 100% of this test passing. I have put a screenshot here. So, like for example, because of EIP 1559, we have like almost 2K tests failing because the gas accounting is not completely properly done in our current implementation. You see on the bottom left the client that actually implements all these tests. So these are, you don't see them anyway, but these are the main clients. So we have Get, Parity client, Ethereum JS, Bezu, Nethermine, all these clients. So we aim to be here sort of the first client, but possibly running ZK mode. That's the goal. That's our current goal. And if everything goes well, I think that by the end of the year it will be done, hopefully. And some hints about software engineering limitation when you work with Cairo. So the Cairo VM is write-once memory, meaning that you cannot update any memory slot. So there is no mutability. Once you have set a slot, it's set forever. On the other hand, the EVM uses mainly a stack and a memory. A stack, of course, when you push, it's okay, you just add a new thing, but when you pop, you are supposed to then remove them, and you push back, you are updating at some point the slots that were already written, if you just use like a plain array. For the memory, it's a bit worse, because memory can be written everywhere. Like in the EVM, the memory it's just bytes byte slot, and you can write wherever you want, whatever you want. For all these, then we use dict dictionaries that you can update the value for your key. Also mentioning the fact that in Cairo there is like no dictionary per se. You just append the list of I'm reading this key, the value was this, and the new value is this. So it's just appending in the list. It's just more like a journal of the records of all the keys and the events related to the so-called dictionary. There is also a limitation in terms of intrinsic size of the type. The Cairo VM works with a field element of size almost 252 bits, while the EVM itself works with bytes 32, so 256 bits. So we need always to play a bit around to try to optimize the fact that we need at least 2 field elements for one usual EVM word. And also in terms of references, the Cairo VM lost very easily the references to the variables that you define. So there is also a bit of rework and the need to maintain buffers, copy a lot of variables if you need to use them after jumps. And this is how the VM works, you jump all the time. I had gold snippets, but anyway, I'm running out of time and it's completely not visible. So if you have questions, I'm here.